ABC Thursdays.
Welcome back.
Grey's Anatomy is all new.
Why didn't you tell me you were pregnant?
The drama going down
Bungee jumping from the bridge, his cord snapped.
We need all hands on deck.
is unbelievable.
You think you're God's gift to this hospital? You're just another doctor.
My relationship with Catherine is complicated.
I'm gonna sue you.
Your lawyers know where to find me.
You're unbelievable.
Grey's Anatomy. All new Thursdays, 10/9 Central on ABC and stream on Hulu.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
Oh, hey. Welcome to another episode of Bougie Best Friend Podcast. I'm so grateful you're spending your precious time with me and my guest, the founder of LTK, Amber Venz Box. I have been on LTK since I started my social media journey. And if you are a consumer of social media, if you ever try to buy something online, like you saw those links and this and that, I'm sure you came across LTK or like to know it. I have to say, I was so nervous before this interview, and that doesn't really happen to me often, but I'm so inspired by her in so many ways. Let's start off by her changing the entire industry. Literally, affiliate links, the way they exist today is pretty much because of her platform, which used to be called Reward Style. Now it's LTK, like to know it. We're going to get into the entire story in the episode. But not only that, I'm so inspired by the way she presents herself, the way she talks, the way she looks. Like I can spend hours just going through her LTK, her Instagram, or any other platforms that she posts because I'm following her on all the platforms. I can just listen to her speak, and she's just so eloquent, and she is gorgeous, stunning. She's an amazing source of inspiration for any entrepreneur out there. And on top of that, she's a mom of 4. I don't even know how she does it all. And actually, I know because she told us in the episode. Before we dive in, a little reminder, if you like the episode, please leave a 5-star rating and a review because it helps the show grow. And it helps me to bring on more amazing guests like we have today. So without further ado, let's hear from Amber. Amber, welcome to Bougie Best Friend.
Koko, I am so honored to be here. This is so exciting.
I think I'm the one who's honored. You honestly revolutionized the industry. You changed the game, not only for influencers, but for anybody who has any type of passion in beauty or fashion or anything. So I'm truly so happy that you're here.
Well, thank you. I'm just honored to get to work with the people I do. Honestly, I'm so inspired by our creators and our brands. And yeah, there's a lot to talk about.
Obviously, we know LTK today as this global brand. Everybody who's in the industry knows what LTK is, but let's go from the very beginnings. And what made you actually start LTK, and where did the idea come from?
I grew up always wanting to work in the fashion industry. I had, knitted scarves in 5th grade and sold, denim jean skirts that I had made like in middle school, and started making jewelry in high school. And I worked retail. I worked in LA as a stylist. I worked in New York in a wholesale, and of course, with my own jewelry line and manufacturing and wholesale. And I never knew where I was going to end up. But right before we started LTK, I was doing personal shopping as a way to basically earn extra income to really pay for the growth of my jewelry line. And with personal shopping, I really loved it because I had personal clients. They were going like on a vacation, or they just wanted to get dressed in trends for fall. And I had set up these relationships all around Dallas where I lived with boutiques and like the department stores, where I'd go in, I would pull all these beautiful clothes for my clients, bring them into their homes, dress them, style them, like photograph them, swap out anything that didn't fit, make returns, all of that. And I made a commission on everything that they purchased. And that was a deal I'd set up offline. And so in actually early 2010, I was in Miami, of all places. And my boyfriend, now husband, and I, who's my co-founder, we'd gone to Miami because we found this like great deal. It was like kind of crazy. It was like $1,000. It included your plane ticket. You were staying at a nice, cool hotel on the water. And it was, 10 days. And so we booked this. We bring our bathing suits. We think that we just hit the jackpot. It turned out to be the coldest week on record in Miami.
No.
And I didn't put a bathing suit on one time. I should have looked at the weather. I think this was definitely before the iPhone. I did not have weather at my fingertips. And so we ended up basically entertaining ourselves all day, every day. And there was one store that I went in and I came out and I was like, oh, the owner, she was fantastic. And she had all of these Dutch brands and, this other cool brand. And we carry this one, but she had this other. And he was like, Amber, I love you, but you really need to start a blog and tell somebody who cares. And we literally walked across to the bookstore, got a notebook, and I was like, I love this idea actually. And so we started kind of like writing up like what I would do on this blog. And it really ultimately became a way for me to market my offline business, which was personal shopping. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to demystify personal shopping. I'm going to document all this work I'm doing for these clients. I'm going to log it. And so everyone can see it, and I'll get more offline clients. I'll make more money. I'll be able to grow my jewelry line. Like, this is the master plan. I launched the blog in early 2010. That summer, the Dallas Morning News did this full page article. At the top, it just said blogger in huge type all the way across end to end. And it said, this girl, she has her jewelry line. She's this shop girl, her from around town. She's offering her services online for free. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that is not at all what I said. And a couple of months later, I realized they were absolutely correct. What I was doing was offering my services online for free because I couldn't make money when people bought things online. And so that fall, I really set out a way to make money on the blog. And the idea was, I'm going to take what's already existing offline and just modernize it by moving it online. So I'm going to go to the handful of retailers that are selling online. At the time, it was Shopbop and Net-a-Porter. Online retail it hadn't had its moment yet. We were in the very early phases. And that was the initial really launch for what is today LTK.
So in the very beginning, when you had this idea, and I'm sure you talked to many people were probably telling you this is never going to work, or like, what was the reaction at that time when you just came up with the idea?
Well, I knew that it had worked offline, and I felt like that was very fair for online, because if I physically brought them, at the time, the Proenza Schooler PS1 bag was the coolest bag. And I knew that if I went to the store, I took it to my customer's home. The commission on that was a little over $100. And I was like, well, they're willing to pay it when I'm physically picking up and take it. I think it's the same thing. I'm telling people to buy it and they're buying it. Surely they'll pay me for the online. We, first set up when I say MVP, which is like the minimum viable product, it was so basic. We created this system and I was able to get in touch with Shopbop. They actually published their number and I was able to because it's also pre-LinkedIn. So tracked down Shopbop, called and talked with them and basically explained that I wanted to drive traffic to their site and I wanted to set up this deal where I would earn with them. And so we made that a really simple integration and they were our first customer. But I remember after that phone call, I was upstairs living at my dad's house. I was upstairs in the game room and I came downstairs. I was like, Dad, Shopbop, they said yes, they're going to do this. I'm going to be able to link to Shopbop and make a commission on my sales. And he was like, are you sick? And I looked in the mirror and I just had red hives all of my face, my neck, my chest, because at the time they had been acquired by Amazon and Amazon wasn't near the company it is today, but it was still a big deal. And I was like, I'm basically on the phone with Amazon. This is so stressful, so intense. But I think the reason I tell you that story is we spent very little money to get to something. And that launching off point of having at least one customer and then turning around to some blogger friends that I had met when I went to a blogging conference in New York that I knew also none of us were making money, calling them and them being interested in it. We had enough of a little bit of attraction to then take it to our friends and have them kind of literally pitch money in a hat to help us get this started. But certainly the retail store that I had worked at growing up, when I told the owner what I was doing when I left my job to go do this, he said, no one's ever going to pay you for online sales. Most people didn't know what a blog was. I mean, this was really early. And so I think our biggest challenges actually came within and then right at that first year. So beyond that launch moment, because I was just self-confident enough and just of a futurist enough to really believe in myself, but the struggles started coming later.
I am very excited to dive into all the struggles because every entrepreneur is not really ready for everything that's about to happen when starting a company. So you had this amazing idea and you decided to start developing the website. I know it used to be called Reward Style. Can you tell us a little bit about that process of actually creating the platform and everything on the back end? I'm sure that was really from your mind, putting that on a website, that's a difficult journey.
Yes. So, gosh, this was pre obviously like, well, okay, I'm going to back up. So whenever we had this idea, I was still working. So I still had my jewelry line. I was still doing personal shopping. And so then in my other time that I could find, I had PowerPoint and I would draw the screens. And I'm not trained as a product manager or as a graphic designer or in technology at all, but I knew as a customer what I wanted. And so I would draw it on PowerPoint and kind of show the progression of the screens of like, I want to touch here and it does this and goes to this screen. And then literally late at night, because it's after this other gentleman's job, he actually was trained in design. He would come over to my house. He'd come upstairs to the game room. He was into craft beer. So I would literally buy him a case of craft beer because I was like, I want him to like show up on time and like be here and like be happy and do the thing. And I would sit next to him and I would just try and explain what I was trying to do. And he would translate it. Then on the weekends, because Baxter and I both had all of this work on our plate, on the weekends, we would meet with our engineer. So we had found an engineer who could build what we were doing. And so we would have breakfast with him and sit and describe it. I would pass off the screens, kind of like, share anything that I felt like was, nuanced. Again, this is also pre-video calling. So lots of things like happening analog here. And, we got a very, very simple product up and online. But when I say simple, like we didn't even tell people like how many clicks they got. It's like we on our end could see what all was happening. And we would write creators checks, literally physical checks, and mail them to their mailboxes. And so they had very little information other than when they logged on their dashboard, they could see how much commission they had earned that day.
So how old is LTK? From day one? It's
well, and the story of Reward Style, I didn't answer your question on that.
Yeah.
The reason it was called Reward Style is because I'm very literal. And when we started, I was like, okay, I'm going to make money on this blog. I'm going to, they're going to pay me a commission for what I'm doing. And my thought was, I'm basically being rewarded for having tastes that other people are inspired by and are going to buy from. So when they buy, I will make money. Reward Style. We got on domain.com. And shockingly, it was available. We bought it. And so that's where it started. Reward Style was a B2B company. So business to business. This is, we're totally behind the scenes. Customers don't need to know about us. We have no consumer facing until 2013. So in 2013 is when people might remember Like to Know It. So that was actually an Instagram product that was built into Instagram. You could hit the like button and it would trigger an email to your inbox with the post that you had liked and all the shoppable information. And then we launched the app in 2017. And the app was the Like to Know It app. Our customers would just, the slang for it was LTK. And all of a sudden I had two brands, but they were actually the same brand. It was basically, we had gone from a 2-sided marketplace to a 3-sided marketplace. And so we rebranded around 2020, 2021, and just simplified and consolidated the brands to LTK. But worth noting that story, because we really have gone through, we've been around for, we just had our 13th anniversary this summer. So there's been, lots of growth and innovation over that time that's really changed, who we are.
Not just who you are, just change the game for everyone, because people nowadays can make a full-time income from just linking products. And I feel like because it's still such a female-dominated industry, I mean, influencing in general is not really still taken seriously. But I just want to hear from you a little bit about the creators you put, like how does somebody even get on LTK?
Yes, a couple things. So you mentioned that now it is a career. So I think around, I want to say it was like 2019-ish, the word creator got added to the dictionary. And so that was actually candidly a huge moment, because before that, it just wasn't part of common vernacular. And that made it also really challenging when you're talking to potential and future customers who aren't already part of this industry. When you talk about now today that it is a career path, it is. There are hundreds of thousands of LTK creators globally. We have 1,100 both brands and creators who are now LTK millionaires. So they've made more than $1 million on the LTK platform. That's something that we're really, really proud of. Beyond LTK, you apply. And so you can, go to our website or go to the app. You can apply through there. And we're looking at a couple of things. We're looking to be in partnership with creators who are operating on a professional level and who are looking to professionalize further. What we've built with LTK today is really, our current chapter, I would say, is realizing that creators need a home base to retain nurture, and grow their communities. So we're now in this era where social media has evolved, and it's no longer about following people. It's about following interests. Even over this year specifically, and even over the last 6 months, we've seen that the algorithm has changed so dramatically that the platforms aren't even the same platforms that we were using last year. And so in doing that, we've made a platform, think of it as like, it's almost if WordPress was created for a commerce-centric creator. That's what we've built for them. So it's a platform that we provide for free to creators who have joined, and they're able to build their community, to provide them with great content, with all of the extra shopping information. People are, where did they, what color is your lip liner? And they're trying to track it down. They're asking questions. They can do it there. You can share product reviews with them. There's video. They can see all your content for all time. They're going in, they're searching. They might remember that, oh God, her hair looks great. Like, I wonder if she's ever talked about her curling stuff. And so I'll just go in and search curls and see like what comes up, because we'll have all the content where you've ever referenced it. And so it's become this platform that's new and yet so necessary for creators in what we're doing. And a creator has to be willing to, put in the work to do that. And if they are accepted, they're immediately in relationship with 8,000 retailers. And so that's like, hearkening back to the original days of where I needed to be able to talk about the products and make money. So now, whether you're talking about Dior and Chanel, or Amazon and Walmart, or the cute little shop that you found at the Shopify next door store, we have links for you to use for those items that are commissionable links. And so you're earning money like a in-store salesperson, but you just have the entire world at your fingertips. And so you can make money on basically commission on the sales that you drive. Our brands can come in and find you and do partnerships with you. So that sort of flow between the brands and the creators is what's been about $3 billion invested by brands and creators through the LTK platform. But this industry is growing. It's not saturated at all. I think Goldman says over the next 3 years, this industry will double and become $1 trillion industry. Wow. So we are not by any means at the end of this. People are starting to awaken to what's happening here, but there's real money. This is a real career. Our team just left last week, the White House. We were invited for the first time for a creator economy conference at the White House. I know I've been an advisor to the Fed for several years, but being actually invited into the room in an intimate group to talk about what's been established, like, to me, honestly, it's a hugely validating moment, but we're not done growing yet.
I love to hear that. So for somebody who is just starting on LTK, they got accepted, they have amazing style, but everything might seem a bit like overwhelming. Should I start with fashion, with beauty, with what is your like best practices for starting your page if you are like a lifestyle creator and you're interested in a lot of things?
So the first thing I would tell you to do is what I call just like fill your shop. Like, I think of it as like, I am creating Disney World for my customers. So sure, they can buy the, and this is such a Disney reference here, but like, you can go to Gap and buy the Mickey Mouse PJs, or you can go to Etsy and buy some ears. But like, if you want to go to Disney World, like, that's what I am creating for you with all of my content in a world-class experience. And I think that starts with having the best of. So we have a tool when creators get started where they can actually import all of their social content and then start tagging it. And so that product allows you to sort of get to parity with everything else that's happening across all of your other platforms with your best and top performing content. You don't have to go in and find it. We're importing it for you. We also now have auto tagging, which is super exciting. So you might be in a beta test for that, or if you might have seen it, it's will be rolled out to everyone this month. And basically, when you upload content, we're actually predicting what products are in it. And then you can now select and say like, yes, those are those products. And so we're trying to help you kind of get through that process. But the first thing to answer your question is just let's get to parity with your other platforms. Let's get it all there together. I think the next thing is using video. We are seeing that video, like the earnings from video posts, if I were to say, let's say I'm doing a makeup routine and I'm just taking a picture of my face versus also adding a video of me putting on that product, it's exponentially more that people are buying, like multiples times more on the video versus the still image. And so whenever you can create a video, whether it is, I know you're wonderful at this, where you're like, you're answering QAs and you're putting your makeup, and I'm both staring at the makeup and I'm like, she needs to break up with him. I'm very engaged and like locked in with this. It's that kind of content on the fly. It's like whatever's going on in your life and whatever's easy for you to create, doing that. Like, I just bought my husband a picture frame and put the kid's picture in it. And when I stopped by his office, I just got my phone out really quickly and just sort of like scanned the picture and I put up, I was like, oh, I just got Baxter a new picture frame. I mean, I'm literally anything that's going on in my world, I'm putting there. I think for me, that's how I approach to get to the volume, because I do have a full-time job and I have 4 kids. But I would say, like, ideally, you are actually content calendaring. And within LTK, we actually have a whole content calendar. It's interactive. It's like you can work with it. And actually, it day by day tells you what you could and should be talking about based on what we know about like customer trends, what they're searching for, where there's like a gap in the market for something that people search, but there's like very little content. And so we try to make it as easy for creators as possible. But I know, like, jumping into a world where, you know, it's like launching a whole new blog, right? And then all of a sudden you have these brand relationships, all these tools. It's just, you know, a friend who always says, how do you eat an elephant? Bite by bite. And, you know, I think it's day by day, but being consistent and just getting it up and launched and announcing it.
I have to say, I've been on LTK for the longest time. And when you understand the platform and you see how easy it actually is to upload, it just becomes like, instead of me just posting it on Instagram, I started taking videos because I heard you talking about video content. Before I was just like posting selfies, but now I'm like, at least I'll do a little twirl so they can actually see the highlighter or like see how the makeup looks in person. And it's so much easier than what people may think. I have a question when it comes to products that are not available anymore, or maybe something is sold out, or like, what is your suggestion here?
Okay, so in my world, or my mind, I guess, my closet, there are two types of things that are sold out. There's like the thing that I bought this season that's already sold out. And then there's like the thing I bought last year that's like not even going to ever come back in stock. So for that item, like if I bought it last year, it's never coming back. I will like tell them in the caption, like, hey, this dress, it's a Spanish designer. They actually went out of business. They don't even exist anymore. So I went and I found you these similar items. And so I'll put it in the caption, but I don't waste their time with the click. It's like, there's nothing to click. And so here you go. If it's this season, I still tag it and I let them know, hey, this item might be out of stock, but if you favorite it, we actually have these out of stock notifications or back in stock notifications. So if they just favorite it within the LTK app, then when it comes back in stock, we'll send them a push notification and like a little jewel in the app that lets them know that they have a notification that's like, hey, it's back. And so that you can get back to that product. So we've been adding some things like that to the app. The app, honestly, if you don't have it, it's a free app. Go download it, check it out. Obviously follow Koko. And it just has, honestly, like world-class marketing and e-commerce technology built in that just makes the whole experience. It really is that much better. It's worth the download.
I think one of my favorite features is the automated, I don't know what's the right term, the automated comment that you just implemented like a few months ago. And now you even did like, you can change the word. Can you, I'm totally butchering.
Yes.
It's like automation, right?
So I'll tell you a brief history of this product. Our goal is like, so when I started out with a blog, right? That was actually before Pinterest and Instagram. And then those platforms came online. You know, Instagram was the first time that we had this closed social network, meaning like you can't link out of it. At the time, there wasn't a link in bio or stories or any of that stuff. And so for us, we're like, how do we get that customer from discovery to doorstep? Like they see something that they like from you and they're like using that product. How do I shrink that time? So that's why we had first developed the Like to Know It newsletter product, because we're like, okay, well, they can just like it. It's in their inbox. They can buy it. They don't have to go search and comment and all this stuff. We then moved into the app. In 2017, if you downloaded the LTK app, then when you screenshot content, we would send you a push notification and we'd save it for you in the app. And that was like another really easy way to get to it. Today, you know, what we have expanded that technology into is where you as a creator can decide in the LTK app, when you're publishing to LTK, you can actually go in and say, I want any of these 10 words. And so maybe, for example, if let's say you're showing 3 looks and it's like, look 1, look 2, look 3, you can literally log, if they say look 1 or look 2 or look 3, any of these words, up to 10 different words, that it triggers a DM. So from you directly, it DM to them, and you can, whatever you want the DM to say, you can also log that as well. So maybe it's like, oh, hey, here's that dress, or like, thanks for voting, check it out. It sends it to them. And so then they have the link right there in their inbox. The great thing about that, a couple things. One, DMs and your engagement there do influence how many people are seeing your content and who's seeing your content. So being in a DM is a great thing. We know that Adam Mosseri from Instagram has said that they are really focused on the DM product. And so you want to be in the DM. So that's a great way to do it. Second, whenever you click through from, you know, that DM, for example, onto your LTK, if they're not already following you, we make them a follower. Because we're like, well, obviously they're following you somewhere else. They came straight to you from there, right? And so make them a follower there, which means they're going to see your content every time they like log back in. So there's a lot of benefits to that. But what you were specifically just now speaking to is your ability to customize it. So whatever you want your audience to be saying or voting or talking about, like I just posted a baby shower and I made the trigger word congratulations. I was like, just say congratulations if you want me to send it to you. And so you can make it like fun and interactive, but it's playing to all of the engagement tools that the platform wants to see. It's free. It's built into LTK. You actually don't have to change or update anything. You can just hit copy and paste it in on your LTK. Paste it on your Instagram reel or post. And we do all the work for you. This is part of like our Copilot program. So LTK Copilot is where we're building tools that just do things on your behalf. So like sending the DM on your behalf, for example, now doing the
Thank you
auto
for
tagging on
making
your
our
behalf.
life easier, honestly.
Well, it's, you know what? It's like the more time that you can spend creating content, the more productive of a creator you're going to be. And when I talked to creators earlier, you asked about like, you know, what type of content should I share? Think about it in this way. Would you rather watch like a TV show where someone is just going through different products they like, or would you rather watch Emily in Paris, where she's using a million products, but she's like out in the world and she's doing things and she's cute and she's fun and she has friends and she's ruffling some feathers and, you know, Emily is just so deeply engaging. She doesn't have to sell you the lipstick because you're just like, whoa, your lips look great, you know? And so you're already drawn into that. And so as I'm trying to coach creators on how to approach their LTK, creators, we're an industry because we're the newest reality star. Like people are watching us and they're following our storyline and we are a character. And if you can understand that that's the job isn't to sit in front of a camera and just talk about products that you like, but it's actually to develop yourself as a character in their life. And hopefully through this parasocial relationship, be one of their digital best friends, then that's really the job that you're doing. And that's how successful creators do it.
This Emily in Paris reference is so like, I love when I can actually picture something like an Emily in Paris. You don't really think about, I mean, she's just such an engaging personality that, okay, yeah, totally aligned here. You just blew my mind with this Emily in Paris comparison. I would love to talk a little bit about captions. That's something people, I think, maybe are not utilizing as much as they could. Sometimes I try to like describe how something makes me feel or like, what is this item actually, like what kind of feeling is it giving to the customer? So if you can speak a little bit on captions, like what's the best practices here?
So it's like, I think of it through two sort of goals. One is I'm trying to build community. I'm also trying to be an excellent curator. So I want to be scouring everything and bringing them the best of the things that they can have in their life. And so as silly as I mentioned earlier that I have children, they're in school, they've started school. So there's a backpack line that I really love for them. Like it wipes down, it washes fast. They're super cute. They last a long time. You can build on the collection, all this stuff. So whenever I talk about those, I'm not just like, here's the backpack. We got a medium. I'm like, hey, I found this backpack and, you know, and it wipes down. And actually the woman who created this, she's based in Austin, Texas, a small shop. This is like something she started. I think she's going to blow up. Like how exciting. I'm trying to let you know why I like it and why I care, but also get you emotionally invested in this product, because how much more wonderful when it shows up in your porch where you're like, I helped that lady who's got kids of her own and she started this small shop, and like that feels great. And so I want those products when they land on your doorstep to be more meaningful than like it was the medium. And I think that captions are just a really underutilized tool, especially on LTK, because it's a relationship building tool. It's the same thing as like if I was texting my best friend. Honestly, I have a friend who is not a creator, but like loves to shop from stuff and also has young children, which is my phase of life. And I think of like, if I was going to text her about this, like what would I say to her? And so I'm so glad that you asked that question, because I think people aren't spending enough time there. And it goes back to the Emily thing. Like Emily's not just walking through like mute, showing you like a still picture of something, like she's living her life. And so how can you also live your life? I'll give you another analogy. We find that reality stars do very well on LTK and do well in social media in general. And it's because they might not, like a lot of reality shows, there's not even really a lot going on. You're just spending a lot of time with that person. And so now you're super invested in them, but they've built trust, because how you build trust is spend time with someone, right? So now that you know their character and their personality, you care more about like what they're doing and following along. That is the same thing that we are trying to do as creators. How do you spend more time with your audience, how they know more about you, so they're following with you and they do think of you in like their friendship set. They are thinking of you like, I'm wondering what's going on. They care with your life stages. They have to care in order for you to be able to transcend this movement through platforms. I mentioned I started with a blog, and then Pinterest came next, and then Instagram came next, and then Snap, and then TikTok. And Lord knows whatever's going to be next, but I need my community to care and like to move with me across these platforms and expand and grow with me. And it's easy to drop off unless you have developed a character relationship with someone.
That's so true. And I just feel like the more you share, the more people are gonna come to your page, because what I think a successful creator does, it's like, okay, I'm posting this outfit on my stories and my followers know that this is gonna be linked on LTK. They're gonna know that everything I'm showing from my kitchen, my bedding, like anything is gonna be on LTK. So do you see any categories maybe more popular than others? Or if somebody's just starting out, is there like an area they should focus on until they kind of learn the ropes and then start sharing everything else?
So I think starting in like what you personally are passionate about or what you feel like you have access to be talking about is definitely a great place to start. And then you'll start to see within your analytics the things that people are interested in. So for me, I find it very interesting. I currently am wearing more denim, but I didn't used to wear a lot of denim. Like I worked in fashion. I need to be in like a full, like what I'm calling an outfit. It was a little, Dallas is like, it's like Miami. It's like glam and dressed and all of that. My life right now is like slightly more casual. So I've got more into denim. And when I showed my first pair of jeans, I sold a ton of them. And I was like, what?
Wow.
I'm showing all these dresses all the time that I like love and I think are so fantastic. But what I realized was like most people live in a life where you're not wearing like fantastic dresses every day, but people do wear jeans. It's like if I wear jeans or if I show tennis shoes, I sell a ton of them. And those are not candidly things that I'm generally passionate about, but I learned that about my audience from watching. And so I've started to make a concerted effort now each season to go look at denim, see what's trending, what's the style, and then to have a real perspective on it. We have another creator who started fashion and a lot of like athleisure type wear. And then she noticed in her LTK analytics that like everyone's buying all this home stuff from her. And so now you would almost think that she's a home influencer because the vast majority of her content is there. But I think, getting started in your niche is the first thing. The second thing is like now we've really invested a lot in the video on the platform. And so now if you go to my profile and you click into my videos, you could actually spend, because of the amount of video that I've uploaded over time, you could spend a couple hours actually watching my videos. And I think about that opportunity, and it's just a format change in LTK. But like with my favorite creators, I can go to their profile and I can just watch video after video after video. And I'm like, wow, it can compete, for example, with like a Netflix or with screen time in another place, because I really do like them. I want their perspective. And I really appreciate that they're like talking to me and teaching me. And I'm, learning something essentially, getting value that I wasn't getting from their still images or from their collages. And I think that update is like, think about like just taking advantage of that. Like if they're clicking into a video now, they're going to watch your whole stream. So like, why not have a whole stream? Because you were just like given on a silver platter this opportunity for like a ton of time with them. And that's, I think, a really exciting thing, because again, relationships and trust are based on time spent. And so we're trying to give them more reasons and ways to spend time with you.
This is, again, you're just blowing my mind, and you're just saying things that make sense, but like just spending time with somebody just makes you care more about them. You mentioned collages, and I remember collages were such a huge part of LTK. I mean, they still are, but I heard you talking about, focusing more on video content versus collages, because collages are not so personal. So can you speak more on because collages also take more time to make than just taking a quick video of your outfit. Yeah. So how much time should we focus on collages versus different type of content?
Okay, so I think of them as like a spectrum of value. The most valuable is video, and it's in the numbers. Like truly, and I'm not quoting numbers because I don't want to give you the wrong one, but it's like 3 to 4 times as much that they're buying on video for the same content versus what they're seeing in collage or what they're seeing in other kind of styled imagery. On the collage side, the way that I approach using it, if I have, for example, this is recent, so I spoke at VCon and I bought 3 dresses and I liked them all, and I let my audience vote on which one I should wear, and then I wore that one, and I used the collage of like, these are the 3 full looks that like I own now and you will see me wear, but like which one should I wear to this? And so I got them engaged in on that level. I did wear the one that they chose, but it's like they see it there. I think of it as like a drip campaign of like, okay, so they saw it on that first and they saw the full looks, and now I'm going to start rolling out like all of these looks, and so they're going to see them again and like get more and more comfortable with it. On the collage side, if you are coming into the app, people are coming in, they're searching all the time. Like right now with the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders and their Netflix show being number 1, people whether it's in the US or even in the UK, people are searching for white cowboy boots. So it's kind of a funny thing because when you come into search, first we show you the creators that you follow that have that product. And so you can enter in through that way. And then we show you people that we think that you would follow based on kind of that social graph. We find that if they don't follow you, they almost never click on a collage because they have no trust with you. They don't know you. So it's sort of like through that search engine, it's like your first, interaction with that person is just a collage, which now AIs can make. Every retailer is making them and putting them on their site. Like I bought something on Mango yesterday and it had the skirt, and then underneath it had the collage of what the girl had on. I clicked through it to get the matching jacket to the skirt. So it's become less differentiated. And I think in this AI era, being human is our superpower. And so investing in what sets you apart and what someone else can't emulate and do is where I would encourage you to invest. When you also just look at the average earnings of a collage, those are on the lowest end. And then you have like static image, but like what we call styled. So maybe it's just like a selfie in the mirror or whatever. And then on the video end, it's just so much greater. So anytime that you can develop personality, do it there. Collages can come useful, I think, as a layered campaign to something, but it's becoming less and less of a brand building strategy for sure.
Okay, question about makeup. So usually people, let's say they shop at Sephora, that's like something they know. Would you recommend that they link? So let's say if I have a full look and I have 15 brands on my face right now, would you suggest that I link to each brand? They're mostly all on the platform. So like, should I link to every single brand individually or find them all on Sephora or any other lead retailer, Ulta or whatever? What's like the best thing to do here?
This is a great question. There's certainly different approaches. I'll tell you what I try to do. First of all, is just like, is there a better price? And you're teeing up, by the way, a product that we have coming that I can't announce here, but it will make this question much easier for you. And it's rolling out in a month. But what I do today is I go and I look and see who has the best price because I want my customer to be able to trust that like they don't need to go to Google and then Google get the credit for the work that I already did. And so like, is there a meaningful price difference? Otherwise, what is my conversion rate like with said brand, right? Like with a Sephora or something. If we think that like, if most of what you're doing is from Sephora, like making that cart easy for them and they're checking out and it's easy, that's great. Otherwise, I do often try to link to the exact brand because candidly, they tend to pay more. I'm also then showing up on their radar. So our brands on LTK have what we call LTK 360. So they're seeing their top creators. They're seeing both like full funnel. So all the way from impressions, down to conversion. And these are brands I'm using. Like I'd love to work with them. And so I want to be on their radar. And so for that reason as well, I'll link to them. Often they have other like, discount codes or free shipping because they're trying to compete with the kind of like ease of experience somewhere else. I think it's also becoming like there's less friction because a lot of these brands are now on Shopify and you can, you can check out very simply. It has your information saved in the same way that a lot of these multi-brands have historically. And so the playing field as far as checkout is getting like much easier, but I try to do whatever's like ultimately best for the customer. But we have a tool launching in the next month that will make these choices much easier for you.
I love that. So you mentioned that you're a mom of 4 and your husband is as well involved in the business. I know the question of work-life balance is like when you're building such a huge company that it's very hard to maintain any type of balance. But if you can just speak a little bit on that, or like, how do you schedule your time or like organize your calendar?
It's a very hot topic. And I've made some radical changes to adjust my life for this chapter for the way I need it to work. When we started the business for the first, what would that have been? I mean, better part of a decade, we weren't married and we didn't have kids. And so we were on the road constantly building the business or just working 24 hours a day, no vacations, no weekends, just what it took. I think the emotional toll of entrepreneurship is very real. That's definitely one of those challenges that I came up against of like, you're isolating yourself by not being available. So that was that chapter. And then came the chapter of like getting married and having kids. And we stopped working on the weekends at that point. We kind of carved that off. And I started to be more intentional, even in the evenings, because used to I wouldn't come home till like 8:45. And that I would never see my child if I left for work to get there by 8 a.m. and then I didn't come home till late. I would literally never see my first child. So I started adjusting my hours then. I got some great tips from some other moms about calendaring the things that are important to you with your child. So in that case, when she was first born, it was like, I'm home for her bedtime. I can get back on and work later if I need to do that. But I'm going to calendar where I'm leaving the office in time to actually rock her and put her to bed. And then next became like, okay, well, now she's in this phase of like sports and whatever. Is it important to me to have the memory of taking her to dance, or is it not? And so the things that I felt like I wanted to have as like core memories of her and I together, I also calendared those like they were meetings. Another tip that I got was, you know, it's great to sign up to be like president of the PTA, but your child, that's just time away from your child. And so like, why don't you just be the mom that shows up with like cupcakes on their birthday? Like they're getting more from you out of that, and it's at no cost to them. So I started thinking about how I engage with their stuff very differently. Now, fast forward, I have 4 children. The oldest is 8. The youngest is almost 4. And we decided to make the radical move of moving out of the city. So we're both full-time at LTK. It was like, I mean, more than full-time. And so we found in the evenings, if we had social commitments of any kind, and our family and our friends are in Dallas. And so anyone's birthday, anyone's like special event, the charity thing that they're hosting, the event for the school you need to participate in, I had 0 nights or any moments to myself at all, much less for my relationship with Baxter, much less for my children. And I was just run down. And so we moved out of the city. We said that we were going to do it for a year. And we moved into this tiny town with about 1,000 people. So now every night and on the weekends are truly ours. Like we don't have social commitments. We are spending time together. We're reading books, we're watching movies, we're going on hikes. And that has been so just like soul filling for me. And so we have decided to do it again for another year. So we'll play it by ear. But for us in this moment, I needed to do something that like removed me from what I felt like I couldn't get out of, because I want this time to form and nurture and influence my children and who they're going to be. And you can hire wonderful people, you can have your parents involved, but they sort of start to absorb and become those people. And I was like, I want to be with them more and be more influential. So we've been here a year now and are looking at our next.
This episode is brought to you by Jira. Jira is the only project management tool you need to plan and track work across any team. So if you're a team of developers, Jira better connects you with teams like marketing and design, so you have all the information you need in one place. Plus, their AI helps you knock out the small stuff so you can focus on delivering your best work. Get started on your next big idea today in Jira.
Sephora stores are everywhere you are. So just pop in when you need a brown lip to match your 90s playlist, a confidence boost before your interview, or a last-minute gift for mom's birthday. There's always a Sephora near you. Just pop in. Use our store locator to find your local Sephora or Sephora at Kohl's.
Okay, absolutely love that. I live in Miami, as you know, and it's sometimes there's so many things going on. There's always an event. Your friends are building their businesses. You want to come and support, but then it's like, is this really taking me one step forward to who I want to be? Or is it just taking away of my time? Because every time you go to an event or a social gathering or a friend's something, it's like 3-4 hours of your day getting ready, traveling, going back and forth. I mean, it's just so time consuming. Are your kids asking any questions, or do they even know what you guys are doing obviously they're pretty young, but do they have any idea of the entrepreneurship? Do they want to like start their own business one day?
You know, I think Birdie, my oldest, is the most interested and most like kind of understanding in this moment of kind of like what we do. They know that when we go out of town for work, we usually bring them back some kind of LTK merch. And so they're always like, but did you bring us anything from LTK? They think that that's cool because we wear it and use it, and they want to wear it and use it. You know, with Birdie, I'll have her listen to podcasts with me if we're driving or something, and then kind of ask her questions, you know, about what she heard, or like, does she have any ideas like that? She does of course, watch me do the videos. I get ready wherever we're going, and I'm doing the video in the mirror before we walk out the door. And so she now steals my phone and goes to her room. She's actually dying to launch a YouTube channel, and I sort of act like that she has that, but no, I'm not going to let her. Oh my gosh, she got my phone the other day. She published to Facebook and to Instagram, and she had done a lipstick video, and then she pulled her favorite foods and was telling everybody about like her favorite foods and how they went together. And it was pretty funny, but also scary. But that generation, like, you know, even when they get on YouTube or something, like they sort of see that TikTok look, they see the shorts, they see how the girls act and look and what they're doing. And kids definitely emulate behavior.
Yeah. And it's kind of scary, not to just talk negatively about social media, but it's scary when kids nowadays, I see my younger cousin, she's like 12, and she's like doing the selfies and doing the poses and doing the dances. And
So I have a podcast as well, and it's called More to Say. And today specifically, I had Poppy Harlow on, and we were talking about great conversations. And one of the things that and having great conversations and great interactions, successful interactions with people. And I referenced this New York Times article that I'd read that's about how this next generation, the class system is going to be defined by who can have a great conversation and an interaction at a human level versus those who have sort of been numbed by their time on the screen. And so I linked it my broadcast channel. We talked about that, but I think that if parents or anyone is interested in that topic, it was a great episode. Definitely like read this article. And then there's this book, The Anxious Generation, that really is talking about what they're calling the great social experiment on our children. Because this is really Gen Alpha, like the first generation that's grown up like full time with it. I mean, when my daughter couldn't spell or write her name, she's telling Siri to play certain songs. Like they get this stuff from a very early age. And yeah, you can go into deep rabbit holes on that. I have not let her launch social media. If anything, I'd let her launch an LTK, but I think you'd be like 16 or 18 to launch that. But I don't want her today looking at that feedback as her source of validation. And so I tell her that she can edit videos, she can make videos, but for the time being, I'm not letting her post it because I don't want the reaction to influence how she feels about herself.
I love that. How much social media do you consume? Or how much, like, sometimes we tell ourselves, oh, we're just doing research. Like, do you have any like app, like screen, what's the word? My English second language right now is but
no, you're great.
If
you know, they have the statistics and the insights on like kind of how and where you're spending your time. I'm
yeah.
definitely not proud. It's weird because I think about it. I'm like, okay, I'm literally working all day and then I'm getting my kids from school and then I'm putting them down. And so in my mind, I'm like, I actually have no time for my phone, but somehow I end up with like a pretty substantial amount of hours where I guess it's either, you know, I'm texting, I'm checking stuff, I'm posting. I probably do more posting today than I do consuming. And I think that part of it is there was an era where I felt like I was being fed certain information from social media about like, you know, it's like, is your best friend a narcissist? And all of a sudden you're getting all this weird stuff and you're like, why am I thinking about this? Like, these are things that like I didn't ask for that now I'm like walking around being like, are you a narcissist? You know, it puts these ideas in your head. Yeah. And so I now use it like more surgically. Like I use it to share and build community, or if I'm like looking for something. I love to learn and I love to have intellectual conversations. And so I've actually found myself spending much more time on audiobooks, podcasts, because I can do it passively, like by driving or getting together. And this last 2 weeks, I've only turned on the TV for Emily in Paris. And I will say, like, I'm just trying to lead like a healthier life. And I find that mentally, like, I'll go to my favorite LTK girls. And that's where I'm sort of getting that social media itch, or like the what's trending itch and all of that, you know, in my DMs, my stories and all that stuff. But there's just so much changing across social media that I think you do have to be careful to not get sucked in and not let it shape like the information that you believe or that you are even thinking about. Like it's living rent free in your mind, and I want to control my mind.
You know, when you said the narcissist example, I've been seeing as I talk a lot about relationships, I see on my TikTok how everybody's cheating and everybody's catching their partners cheating. And then the other day, my boyfriend went for a walk and it was a long walk. And I'm like, where have you been? It was such a long walk. And I'm like, obviously he's not cheating. But I was like, maybe you went here. And because we're constantly served that type of information. And then you start like literally creating scenarios in your own head, which are not really true.
Well, in the podcast world, I mean, this is obviously not the lane that you and I are in, but in the podcast world, like crime does really well. And I'll tell you, like, I've definitely listened to some crime podcasts or even like crime TV, or it's like the outrage, it's the drama. And so that's what these platforms are using to hook us and buying that time with us so that they can sell us ads. And it is weird how you start thinking about that, or you'll read something about how someone's husband XYZ, or they make them do this thing. And all of a sudden, you know, Baxter walk in and he says something that's similar. And I'm like, it's just like you, where you're like, you just did this thing to me. I'm like, I would have never reacted that way before. So it's just sort of putting ideas in your head about, it's almost reshaping the way that you're perceiving reality in a lot of cases, because a lot of it is psychological information. And with that, I like limit. I like to stay inspired. I have certain style, you know, inspiration of people that I follow. And candidly, now that the video feed is there in LTK, like I love to go in and go deep because I can hear them talk about it. I can see how they're wearing it. And it's like, I trust them. They're getting me that information. And I feel much better when I feel like I'm with a friend or supporting someone in that way versus and I feel in control versus like me being fed.
That this just came to my mind. Do you suggest that we use captions on our videos, like subtitles while uploading, or just regular video?
Yes. Use captions on your videos, and that'll be even easier coming soon. But there are ways to do it today, and so I would definitely suggest it. Think about people when they're in a public place or whatever else, and they're consuming. A lot of times they are listening with like the volume off, and so you lose that opportunity to connect. And so, definitely, it's a best practice to have the caption overlays there for those that listen sound off.
Okay, I just have a few more questions before we wrap up. What are some of your like favorite things to do when it's where we're not talking about work? Like, how do you like to unwind? Just like some of your the audience to get to know you a little bit better.
So I think I have the two versions of myself. I just came from a work trip and I had several evenings to myself. And so I can tell you what I do when I'm by myself and then what I do when I'm with my family, my normal life. By myself, I have gotten into audiobooks. And so I love to sit and listen. And I honestly leave a notepad. Like I say notepad, I do it with my computer, because then I type up the notes of like the things that stood out to me, and it helps me to kind of remember those things and process those things. I still actually like really love to collage my outfits. And it's sort of how I plan, Fashion Week's coming up, LTK Con is coming up. I have, some like family events we're going to. And so I sort of almost shop that way, where I put the outfits together like on these boards and then go make the purchase. And so I'm sort of like playing around, making sure I have enough, and then it all goes together. So it's funny, I was in Dallas this last week, and it has every store now. And so I'm going in all the different stores, and I was like, I'm not used to shopping like this, because in store it's like such a limited selection, and it's like what you're offered. And I love being able to like look at the runway shows online, or like the whole collection they're offering, and then surgically go in for like the things that I love from that. So yeah, I think collaging, the audiobooks piece, I love to just some self-care, like a mask, face roller, all that. But then, back at home, kind of unwinding, I really love to do stuff with my kids and with my husband. And so whether that's like, go for a walk or a ride around, where we live in the mountains. And so it can be really fun to go, you're seeing a ton of animals and that kind of stuff. We host kind of dinner parties for entertainment out here, because everyone lives so far away. And so every, at least once a month, like I'm setting a beautiful table and, having people over, and that becomes like a fun way to entertain. But yeah, life's busy for all of us. It's like, where do you even find those moments anymore?
Yeah. Do you have any non-negotiables when it comes, like, do you have any like morning routines? Is something that you can't skip?
Let's see. Well, I get the kids out the door early. I drink coffee every single morning, so that's not negotiable.
I love yeah, we're coffee girls.
I know, it's funny. I almost feel like it's almost like a weird entitlement or something. Like I can't start until I've totally done that. I am maniacal about my calendar, like down to the 15-minute mark of like all the things I'm going to achieve that day and organizing it. So I both have help with it, but I do it even the night before, even the day of. I'm moving things around. I now have blocked my calendar so that I can pick my kids up from school. And so I'm pretty like nuts about being able to like have that time and that opportunity with them. I'd say those are kind of like the main things. I always try to like keep some sort of serum on my face. I don't know. I'm in my late 30s now. And so it's like, you make the coffee, put the serum, let it soak type of a deal. I think one of the biggest life changes lately, though, has been living out here, living very rural, in a rural environment. There actually aren't really restaurants here. And so I've had to learn to cook every meal. And I never before have cooked in my entire life. And so I've started then looking at what's in my food and realizing, the differences. And even like shredding your own cheese versus buying shredded cheese, and like the preservatives that are in that versus not. And I know these are like very first world problems, but I get my downtime now at home. So I have time to think about these things. So I would say that my diet has changed tremendously, and that's an interest. And my kids actually really love to cook. And so that's something that we do a lot together. But I've tried to be much more mindful about what I'm putting on and in my body. And I think I'm late to that game perhaps, but it's become an interest set of mine.
I think honestly, when you start actually cooking, you see. So my boyfriend and I, we were ordering this service where they just like send you ingredients, and then you kind of make something from the ingredients. And then we realized that they put so much butter and so much like extra, it's so many things that you don't really necessarily need to put in this meal to taste well. And then we were just like, okay, we're not going to put this, we're not going to put that, trying to be a little bit more mindful, but also like eating out and stuff like that. You just see how many like bad things people put in your food. One final question for you that I ask every single guest. What piece of advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh, I do love this question. Gosh, I'm trying to think of like the one.
What age did you think of yourself right now? Is it like early Is it like teenage years? It's usually,
I'd say like teenage through college and just right after. I think my teenage years, like I always loved fashion. I was wearing outrageous things, and I was like, it was like definitely my side thing and passion. And I would even get made fun of for like, you know, one time I made this cool choker and I wore this like weird hat, and I'd go out just doing this stuff and would get made fun of even by like groups of people. And I don't think that felt great. And then I think about like going through college, and, you know, I was working through college. My friends didn't like that I was like not available to them because I had a job. And so my job, I often had to work on the weekends and other stuff. And then in building the business, I mentioned that it's like very isolating. And I think what I'd tell myself is like, it's all worth it, because I come out on the other end of this, and I feel like I put in that work early, which I know like getting made fun of is not work, but like I was committed to what I was doing and interested in. I didn't let other people's opinions like shape who I was going to be or what I was going to like or do. And then now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm so grateful to have like a pretty clear path of what I'm doing, what my day looks like, and how my life is unfolded. But it's not like, it's because I've put in, I'm 37, like I put in decades worth of like very serious work. And so I feel like I've set myself up now for the rest of my life to like get to continue to do like really cool, interesting things that I love. I wouldn't trade it for a social life in my teens and my college years at all. So I think that that's the one thing, is like the social stuff will pass. And honestly, those wouldn't have even been my friends anymore today anyway, because we just, our interests have like gone different ways. Right. And so I think that's all fine. I think the second thing is like, I would tell myself, go faster, like figure out how to go faster. Sometimes I focus on like the quality of the outfit rather than like this, like the volume of the output. And I think about that in our business. Like I wanted I would spend hours making sure that I would make our clients like recap decks of their performance so they could like understand and get better. And I would spend hours and hours and hours, and I would make sure every line was straight and everything was even and it looked so perfect. I should have just made 100 more of them instead of making it for 10 clients that are perfect. I should have made 100 of them for way more clients, and they don't care that the line's crooked or whatever. So I think I spent too much time on the like minutia and the things that didn't count. And I sacrificed almost speed in growing the business because of the perfection mentality. So I would tell someone like minimum viable product, like truly whatever is like the least thing that can get the job done, get that thing done. And I think I would have been able to move a little faster through the first probably close to decade of our business if I would have taken that advice.
wow, I'm in the process of building a brand, and this what you just said is like gold advice, because you're always like, just this little thing, let's just move this a little bit like this, and then you're just 1 month goes by, 2 months, 3 months, and I mean, yeah, I'm so happy that you came on the podcast. You shared amazing tips, and I would just love everybody to follow you, your podcast, your page, how to sign up on LTK. Give me all of your links.
Thank you so much for being here. A wonderful conversation. Speaking of great conversations, you are a wonderful conversationalist. It's been wonderful. And I enjoy listening to you in many different media venues. So I'm at Amber Venz Box on almost every platform. So if you want to listen to my podcast, it's called More to Say. You can find me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, of course, on LTK. I put my whole life on LTK, and I put the highlights on Instagram, but at Amber Venz Box. And thanks for the follow.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Amber. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks,
Bye.
Koko.
Bougie Bestie, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Be sure to subscribe to my podcast so you never miss out. I release new episodes every Friday. If you love Bougie Best Friend, please leave a 5-star rating and a review. Your support means the world, and it helps the show grow. You can also follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Koko Beauty, and you can find Bougie Best Friend on Apple, Spotify, and all other major podcasting platforms. Love you. Bye.